Hey guys, Dakota here with Broad Street CrossFit. I want to talk to you today about the relationship between working out and losing weight and some concepts that might help us and benefit us in our training. So I think that gym goers generally fall into a couple avatars when it comes to losing and gaining weight. We have somebody who wants to lose weight as one avatar, and then we have somebody who needs to maintain weight, that's another avatar, and then somebody who wants to gain weight. Generally, most people fall into the first two, lose weight or maintain. Now, one thing to know is the relationship between working out and diet goes like this. Working out or activity requires energy, and it brings us up to a certain level of energy requirements that are it's kind of hard to put a finger on exactly how much energy you're using throughout the day, but there's a general idea. So like say I'm doing CrossFit every day. My energy expenditure from not doing CrossFit to doing CrossFit is here to here. To do this activity, we're going to require a fuel source. And the fuel source is going to be food, first and foremost. So if we're taking it, let's say we're at a body composition we like, and we're working out at a certain level of energy expenditure, and then we're also fueling at the same amount of intake as far as calories, then what we're going to do is be able to maintain that weight. However, if we're working out at a lower energy expenditure or not working out at all, and our intake is higher than our energy, we're going to end up storing a lot of that stuff as fat. A lot of the food intake as fat, mainly the carbohydrate and fat intake. And that's because we don't have anything that requires energy, so we kind of overate, all right? Another aspect of working out is if our energy expenditure is really, really high and our intake's really, really low, we're going to lose weight. Now for some people, like Avatar 1 that are trying to lose weight, that could be a really awesome thing. But there will become a point when you change avatars. You're going to be at Avatar 1 and you want to lose weight and you put yourself at a deficit. And then when you get to Avatar 2, you can't keep losing weight because that's an issue that's going to start to actually affect our overall health. So I want to talk to you about a couple ways to make sure your energy expenditure and your intake are kind of matching up. One of the easiest ways to do it is through quality. CrossFit, when they initially started, Greg Glassman put out a prescription for quality. It was eat meats and vegetables, nuts and seeds, some fruit, a little bit of starch, and no refined sugar. That's a great prescription for a really basic concept of quality and quantity. And what I mean is, when you're eating quality foods, like when you're eating vegetables for your carbohydrate instead of starches, or mainly vegetables instead of starches, you're gonna be taking in less calories overall. And so it's gonna actually be keeping your quantity intake a bit lower. For somebody who's really inactive, following that much more precisely would be even more important because then the intake needs to be lower because the energy expenditure is much lower throughout the day. One thing I noticed is when we did the running challenge, guys, a lot of people were doing the running and the CrossFit concurrently. So they were hitting CrossFit classes and they were running. And a lot of you guys had success in losing weight. And that was a big victory. But we have to understand why we had this victory. So basically what happened was our intake, no matter whether we were eating good or not, was at a certain level. And then if you were doing CrossFit, you're at another level. You might have even plateaued. You weren't losing weight or gaining weight. Then when we added running on top of that, the energy expenditure became higher while the intake was lower, and so you started losing weight. Awesome. But recognize that at some point after we've lost that excess body fat, we're going to still need a fuel source for that deficit. And the deficit is going to be fueled by mainly our muscle mass. Which is why if you ever look at a long distance runner or a really long distance endurance athlete, you'll notice that a lot of times they're lacking in muscle mass. And when we're lacking in muscle mass, that means generally that our bone density is at a bad place. And we really don't want that because that affects us being healthy overall. So bring in CrossFit, right? CrossFit has all these broad things. We run, we do all those cyclical stuff, we do gymnastics, we do weightlifting and powerlifting. And so we should be able to get a pretty high level of energy expenditure in 1 hour classes throughout the day. So if we're gaining weight, we can pretty much say, if we've been consistent in CrossFit classes, that our intake is too high for the amount of activity we're doing, amount of healthy activity that we're doing. So we need to bring our intake down if we want to maintain, and we need to bring our intake lower if we want to lose weight. All right. Not saying you shouldn't run, not saying you shouldn't play sports on the side of CrossFit, not saying that you have to do CrossFit necessarily, even though I believe CrossFit is the way, honestly, due to the broadness of the program and all the effects that we get on those 10 general physical skills, anywhere between speed and endurance, power and stamina and strength, coordination, flexibility, agility. But you know, it's good to know this relationship because you can kind of guide your training based on that, and you're never really pointing the finger at something and saying, this must be the answer. Because there's a lot of noise out there. And generally, if something makes us lose weight, we immediately think that's the thing. Like if I'm doing CrossFit and I just notice in a week of power cleans, I lost weight, I might just power clean every single day. But the truth of it is, it wasn't the power cleans, it was the energy expenditure that came along with doing those power cleans. And it had to do with its relative level compared to my intake. Quality is an amazing way to do it. It takes care of quantity. And the main thing to know is if we're really trying to be healthy and trying to be a well-rounded athlete, we need to focus more on intensity over volume in our training so that we don't have the negative effects such as the loss of muscle mass and bone density that comes with the long distance runner. And yet we can still maintain a healthy body weight or a body composition that we're happy with. All right, guys, I hope that helps. Let me know if you have any questions. I know it's kind of wordy, and this is a topic that is simple but can get very complex. And so I'm always down to talk about it. You guys are doing great. I'll see you at the box.